Namaste everyone, this is Warren from Nepal. I'm here again with another awesome learn and grow session. We share our knowledge with people just like you who wants to learn and grow. We share NLP tools, we share NLP techniques or any other improvement tools to help you master and design your life that empowers your future. If these sound awesome to you, please hit that subscribe button down there right now. We'll then be able to share similar amazing videos with you on a regular basis. Today, we're going to talk about values and how they impact our state. We'll discuss some techniques I learned as a NLP master practitioner and also from Damon Card. Damon Card has an amazing YouTube channel called Life Mastery Gym that teaches you NLP tools and techniques, and he's awesome. So this session is also inspired by him. Let's get started. Truly, our main obstacle to happiness are guilt and regrets. Experiencing guilt and regrets is simply something we've all done. We go through many challenges in life, and as human beings, we cannot escape guilt and regrets altogether. As a coach, I can honestly say from my own experience that most of the issues that my clients come to me with have their origin in guilt and regrets. My goal would be to effectively give you some ways of resolving your guilt and regret by the end of this video. You may have done something that is sadly causing you to experience regret or guilt. What was it? Think about it. Pay attention to these emotions or feelings that you're clearly experiencing now. These awful feelings are truly the result of you overstepping one of your values or you violating one of your values. These feelings of guilt and regret are the result of you breaching a value that you are committed to. You really have to understand this. This is absolutely incredible if you simply think about this. If you investigate where these bad feelings or feelings of guilt and regret come from, you'll logically and intuitively realize that they're the result of you overstepping one of your values. This violation caused bad feelings. We call it regret because we wish we could go back in time and undo it. Let's say you value respect. One day you say something absolutely nasty to one of your colleagues or one of your staff and you feel awful. What causes this? What causes this feeling of awfulness? This is especially because you defied or broke your value or violated your value. You violated your value of respect. Simply examine how bad you feel. To what degree do you actually feel bad? If you finally see that you feel extremely bad, it means that you were really committed to that value. The more miserable you feel, the more important that value is for you. And after you actually realize this, you'll see that you feel a little less bad already. You will learn how committed you are to this value and simply what is going on here. So what do? You want to figure out what exact value or values did you overstep or violate. Now, you need to effectively elicit that value. Quite often, many of us are not conscious about this. We're not really sure what exact values are behind our guilt and regrets. We just accept the bad feelings and remain angry at ourselves. This is not resourceful or helpful in any way. You constantly remind yourself of the thing you did and keep feeling bad about it. Don't just sit there feeling bad about yourself. Ask yourself, what specific values did you violate to make you feel this way? What exactly did you do that you're not happy with? What did you do that makes you feel this is not the person I want to be? What is that value? The value you overstepped or broke or violated. When I accusingly yelled at my staff for not meeting the deadline repeatedly and insulted him, I later said I was sorry. Here, I broke my very important value, my value of respect. No matter how much someone may miss the deadline or frustrate me by not living up to my expectations, that is not enough for me to insult or disrespect someone. So the value I violated is respect, and I felt absolutely bad about it. Now, I need to take that commitment to my value of respect and make sure that I turn it into commitment towards changing my behavior to something that is more aligned with my value of respect, or that is more congruent to my value of respect. Here, I overstepped my value of respect. Of course, I felt awful. But instead of just feeling bad for myself, I had to do something. I did something that was congruent with my value of respect. I found my staff, and the first thing I did was to tell him I was sorry. I told him I was wrong. It was hard apologizing to him, and I was expecting him to tell me it's okay and thank me for it. But how others react is not up to you or me. When you apologize, do not expect any specific response from them. If you do, then expect disappointment. So when you apologize, do it for yourself. Do it because it helps you. Do it because you're committed to your values. If you do it because you want the other person to say they're sorry or to say something else or react in a certain way, you're setting yourself up for another disappointment. You apologize because you feel guilty, because you violated your values. This will ensure that you're committed to your values and you're being proactive in protecting them. You should simply use your commitment as a fuel and start making necessary changes. You should take action regardless of how the other person reacts to it. Focus on what really matters. Being proactive and doing something is extremely important. Otherwise, you just sit and feel lousy about yourself. And endlessly feeling crappy about yourself will not do anything for anyone. At least it will not do anything positive. Instead of sitting there foolishly in an unresourceful state with absolutely useless negative feelings, take action. The other important value that you need to consider is the positive intent. The positive intent behind your behavior, behind whatever you did. Positive intent behind your behavior and your value, they're the same. Your intent behind your behavior was to satisfy your value. So naturally, would like to know the intent behind your behavior. Examine your behavior, the behavior that you did not like, and ask yourself, what was the positive intent behind this? I know you may not like your behavior and you're feeling guilty and regretful because of it. Still ask yourself this, what was the positive intention behind that behavior? This is not easy for everyone to ask the positive intention. A lot of us will simply assume there can be no good intention behind a bad behavior. There's no denying that the behavior was bad. But this exercise is not about that. We're basically only talking about possible positive intent behind your behavior. I had asked myself what the positive intent was behind me yelling at my staff or getting angry at him. My positive intent was that I really believed in his potential and thought he could improve his performance. You can go deeper. You can go deeper by asking what is important about improving his performance. I really wanted him to improve so that he could learn and grow. And if he grew and became better, I would learn and be better too, somehow. So that was it. My positive intent was learning and growth. I wanted us to learn and grow. I got upset because this value of mine was not being met. This intention was not being fulfilled. If I want, I can go deeper still. I can keep going deeper until I simply start repeating my values. And once you start seeing yourself repeat the same values over and over again, you know it's time to stop. One value I came up with when I asked myself what's important about learning and growing is happiness. There could be more. You can come up with a bunch of values. But for me, learning and growing gives me happiness, and this was very high level value for me, and this was enough. And I was starting to repeat myself. Now, I look at the intent, value, situation, and examine my behavior and tell myself I'm not okay with this behavior. Now I can clearly see what my positive intention was. My positive intention was to learn, grow, and be happier. These information give me the information needed to resolve this situation of guilt and regret. To do that and resolve it, simply examine that behavior and ask what positive intent was behind it. Then ask again, go deeper. And sometimes, very likely, you'll discover an away from strategy when you're doing this. As in, you'll discover what you do not want instead of what you do want. So you effectively have to state it in a positive. For example, you overstepped your value of respect and you insulted someone. And after digging deeper, you realize your positive intent for your behavior was you did not want to look weak. To state it in a positive, ask, what did you want instead? You did not want to look weak, but what did you want instead? Change it to the positive. Change it to I want to look assertive or strong. Then you can go even deeper. Then ask what is so important about looking strong. And you can then dive deeper for a value that will completely unravel this thing. And as you're unraveling this thing quickly and effortlessly, you'll find it easier and easier to deal with the situation. Now, at this time, you may ask, is it possible that your intention, regardless of the positive intent, that your intention and the value you violated were the same? Absolutely, this happens. This happens sometimes. For example, you overstep to your value of respect, and then you elicit the positive intent behind it, and you find that to be respect as well. Your intent was trying to be respectful to someone, and that person misunderstood it and then got angry. This happens often to all of us, right? So here you violated value, and the positive intent behind your behavior were both respect. Keep in mind that this is not something that always happens, but it does happen sometimes. So some of us may do that and think there's something wrong because the value and the positive intention is the same. They get confused because the value they violated and the positive intent are identical, and they think maybe there's something wrong with this. Then they're convinced there must be something wrong and they stop doing it. So if this happens, there's nothing wrong. It does happen. If something similar has happened to you, simply keep going and it will still resolve your issue. I know some people really struggle with the positive intent thing. Let me try and help you further. If you logically and intuitively think about it, none of us intentionally make bad decisions. Absolutely no one intentionally makes a mistake. So there must be a positive intention behind everything you do, right? Sometimes it's possible that we find it hard to understand this concept because we focus on the behavior alone. And you have to go below that surface to actually gain clarity. When you do something to upset yourself, please keep in mind that you did not do it intentionally. You did not do something intentionally wrong or stupid. If you did do it intentionally, why would you feel bad? Of course, you could say, I definitely insulted that guy purposefully. However, if you really go deep and try and figure out what really was the positive intention behind insulting that person, you'll find something else. Maybe your action made you feel better. That was the positive intention. I'm not saying it's okay to feel better about insulting someone. I'm simply trying to point out to you that you did have a positive intent. Dig deeper and you will definitely discover positive intent. Every behavior has a positive intent behind it. It's also a NLP presupposition. Sometimes your behavior could have been influenced by the following things. Maybe you did not have enough focus or attention. Maybe you studied the situation wrong. Maybe you did not have enough information regarding the situation. Or maybe you were in a new environment or culture that you were not very used to. So do keep all of these in your consideration and do not be too harsh on yourself. You could have behaved much better, but you did not have enough information, or you simply didn't know. Of course, if you had known, or if you had the info, if you had enough focus, whatever, you would have absolutely done it differently. Keep these in your consideration, absolutely. Maybe you wanted to say something sympathetic to someone, but did not know how, and it came out as insulting. We simply are not perfect, at least not all the time. Maybe you did not have enough sleep, or you were hungry or tired and struggling with other stuff. Be kind to yourself and consider these. After all of these exploration, now you know what value you violated, the positive intent behind your action. If you were in the same situation again, how would you act? How differently would you behave? Importantly, how can you behave so that you can manifest both of your positive intent and your important value that was violated? How could you express both of them? Or how could you integrate both of them effectively? Remember, when I yelled at someone, then I violated my value of respect and my positive intent was learning. Now, I would do some self-reflection. If I could redo the whole thing again, how would I effectively express respect and learning? And I logically and intuitively think about a way that would have definitely been much, much better. I know it happens sometimes, but if I try to exhibit respect and maybe the other person struggles to understand it, that happens. And it's still okay. It happens and it does not make it wrong. The other person may not like my way of expression, or maybe they could be intentionally unwilling to comprehend. That happens as well. Me mentioning respect in the conversation maybe has a massive effect on it. Then I should focus on learning. Maybe it simply means learning from all situations. I'm simply sticking to what I value still. I'm recognizing what I believe, and when I bring them to in there, I magically start to feel relaxed. Guilt and regret starts to disappear. It suddenly starts to feel like I somehow understand now. I was ignorant, but now it's all clear. Consider that with the two values. How could you behave or act if you could go back and redo it? How would you redo it? Manifesting those two values. Now, how about your life in general? How can these two values manifest together for you? If you could effectively manifest these two values with a particular behavior, what do you think that particular behavior could be? If you ask yourself this, you will come up with at least one thing. And that becomes your strategy. When you're in a similar situation again, you know you have a plan. You now have a plan that could work. How to manifest both of your values effectively. Now you can start future pacing or visualizing how you would deal with a similar situation that made you feel guilty and regretful, but in the future. And this process is going to not only help you understand the situation better, but also to practically resolve it. Then you'll rapidly realize that these bad feelings make very little sense. They make less sense because you are focusing on manifesting and fulfilling the values that are precious to you. And also because you have intuitively figured out some ways of making amends. You can try it now. If you have a situation with someone and maybe you're not in talking terms, there's a problem. You can make amends now. Talk to the person who's not happy with you, or talk to the person you're not happy with. Guilt and regret is really bad for you. It splits you into two and you're hurting because you're angry at yourself. Of course, the splitting is metaphorically. However, it can cause you pain. It can limit or disempower you somehow. It will not work in your interest. It will not make your future better in any way. Because it disempowers you, it is your responsibility to make the necessary positive changes. It is absolutely your responsibility to work on your guilt and regrets. It is your liability to recognize and fulfill your values. It is your duty to work on those values that are vital to your world and recognize ways of doing it in the future. This will ensure that you know what to do when you face a similar situation in the future. Now you know how to elicit your values when you're struggling with inner conflicts and how to resolve them. So this is it, friends. We're at the end of the session. I hope you really enjoyed it and learned something from it. If you have suggestions, drop us a line at coachmenepal@gmail.com or info@coachmenepal.com. If you have feedback, do not hesitate to share them. We'll be coming with more free sessions in the future, and some sessions that are not that free. They're not that free because these sessions are awesome and need a lot of work from us. Please like, subscribe, and share because we love you. We really do.